Good morning, and thank you for joining us this morning in Burrard Inlet. My name's Danny Sydenham. I'm President and CEO for Helijet International. And we're here this morning to welcome the team from the Ocean Cleanup and to thank them for the important work they're doing all over the world. As we begin this morning, I also want to acknowledge that we're meeting today in the traditional territory of the Salish people, including the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. For more than 33 years, Helijet has been back and forth over these great oceans, flying over Colombia's coastline each and every day. We literally get a bird's eye view of the coast, and it's always an incredible sight, even in this gray day that we have today. We also know that our coast and ocean around us rely each and every one of us when it comes to keeping them clean and healthy. While it's a big job and even small things definitely help. Helijet recently gave up their bottled water for our clients. We went through 3,000 bottles a month and we gave them up for dispensers. We're just trying to do our part. As British Columbians and Canadians, we live on some of the most spectacular and cleanest coastlines in the world. Keeping them that way takes all of us, and the work of the Ocean Cleanup crew reminds all of us what's at stake. With that, I want to introduce to you Mr. Alan Dunton, who will be the MC for this morning. Thank you.
Good morning. Thanks again for coming and braving the elements. I'm just here to help keep things moving and on schedule. A couple of rules we have, and I think everybody's been briefed on this already. The plastic that you see in front of us cannot be touched. This is the most important rule of the day. We can't touch the plastic or the bags. After the remarks, you will have an opportunity to come up and take pictures closely, but we can't touch any of it. That's a very important rule. This is an active helicopter landing site, as you can see, so we are going to stick to a pretty rigid schedule. There is going to be some noise. Boyan will likely continue to speak through some of the landings if that becomes an issue, and we'll try to clarify and address any follow-up remarks that you might have at the conclusion of the event. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Boyan Slat, who will give us a sense of what's going on here today. Thank you.
What's up? All right. Well, welcome everyone here on this beautiful sunny day in Vancouver, British Columbia. So we are here today to commemorate the end of the first mission of the Ocean Cleanup in the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Sorry. It's better. So to commemorate the first mission of the Ocean Cleanup in the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, as well as looking ahead on what's coming up for the cleanup, as well as for the first plastic that we have collected. So at the Ocean Cleanup, our mission is to rid the world's oceans of plastic. And to do that, we really need to do two things. We need to prevent more plastic from reaching the oceans, but we also need to clean up what's already in the oceans. So, and of course, we're working on the prevention side. We've developed these interceptors that we just launched a month ago to catch plastic in rivers before it reaches the oceans. But that's not enough to rid the world's oceans of plastic. To succeed in that, you also need to deal with the legacy pollution which is already in the oceans today. And by far the largest accumulation of trash in the world's oceans is the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, which is out there between here and Hawaii. It's twice the size of Texas, contains 100 million kilos of plastic, and not only does it not go away by itself, it gets more harmful over time because it breaks down into these smaller and smaller microplastics, which can then end up in the food chain. So we have to clean this up. But you might wonder, well, it's 20 years ago that this patch was discovered. Why hasn't anyone cleaned this yet? Well, it turns out that it's actually pretty difficult to do it. First of all, it's obviously very far away. This area is huge, and it's one of the roughest environments in the face of the planet. We're talking about waves up to 14 meters in height, wind, currents. It's all such a hugely destructive environment, so doing anything out there is just really difficult. But after years of research and development, in September of last year, we felt ready to try and launch our first cleanup system towards the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, which we launched from San Francisco that year. Now, this was a critical milestone, yet it wasn't a celebration because we knew that it was still very much an experimental system. There was no guarantee that it would actually work. I think I gave it like a 30 or 40% chance of actually working first time around. And indeed, our expectations were proven right. We had our ups and downs. We had problems. We had structural failures. But eventually, the team was able to take those lessons into account and actually get to a point that we had a system that was successfully catching plastic 2 months ago. So that was really quite an amazing moment, especially after all these things that we went through. And of course, around me, we see the sort of the culmination of those efforts, and definitely, it's seeing this makes me incredibly proud of what the team has done over the past years. And so, a huge thanks to everyone who has been involved and for getting us to this point that we actually have the first plastic back on land, which is, it just fills me with a lot of pride and joy. But then, of course, we succeeded in catching plastic, but we're not ready yet to clean up the whole garbage patch. So, as you know, the objective is to clean up 50% of the garbage patch in 5 years. And for that, we want to build a whole fleet of systems that are bigger, more efficient. And before we can actually deploy that fleet, we have this essential stepping stone to still fulfill, which we call system number 2, which is going to be the first full-scale, fully operational cleanup system. And we're actually starting with the development of that right now. So, as mentioned, we now have a system that's catching plastic, but there's still a few things that we really need to do, where there's really still innovation required before we can actually clean the ocean, which includes long-term durability and long-term retention. So being able to retain the plastic for very long periods of time, those are the two main engineering challenges that we'll be working on for the coming year as we prepare for the launch of system number 2. But then it's important to realize that for this cleanup to be successful, it's not just a technical challenge. There's also this other side of the equation, which is the financial challenge, because you might have a technology that works well, but if there's no one to pay for it, it's still not going to happen. So, ideally, you have some kind of model through which, once those systems are out there, the cleanup can continue to pay for itself. I mean, that would just be perfect full circle. Now, as you know, we're also doing this work on the rivers, and there the situation is very different because the river is actually owned by someone. It's in national territories. There's somebody who has an incentive to keep that river clean. So there's actually this business case to do this. But for the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, that's not the case. And that's why critics have always pointed out that even if you have a technology to do it, it's not going to happen because it's international waters, so it's no one's problem. But we disagree because we believe that this is everyone's problem. So everyone could be part of the solution as well. So over the past few years, we've come up with a plan through which we believe we can actually do this. And to explain our plan, I'll explain it by answering the two most commonly asked questions that we receive. The first question is, well, what are you going to do with the plastic? Now, of course, it's important to stress that the objective of this first campaign wasn't to maximize our harvest. It was really just to get to a point that we have a system that's catching plastic, really validating the fundamental principles behind the concept. Yet by doing that, we inevitably also collected some plastic, partly by the system, partly by the crew next to it on the boat that was monitoring the cleanup system. And so we have 60 big bags of 1 cubic meter around me here, filled with catch. And if you look inside of them, you see it's absolute garbage. I mean, this This stuff has been in the ocean for likely for decades. It's corroded, it's degraded, it has salt on it, it has algae on it. It's really complete garbage. Yet we believe that these bags hold the key to making the cleanup self-sustaining. Because this is not just any plastic. This is plastic from the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, the infamous Great Pacific Garbage Patch. And it's like the difference between a normal rock and a rock from the moon. It's plastic that has a story attached to it. And not just that, it has a purpose behind it, because now that it's out there, or out of the ocean, it won't continue to kill sea life for another decades or centuries, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to recycle this plastic, and we're going to turn it into beautiful, sustainable products, completely made from this plastic from the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, and 100% of the proceeds going to the continuation of the cleanup of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Now, and these are not going to be gimmicks. These are going to be products that you actually want. And we're going to try this out with the first plastic that we have here right now in the coming year to see whether this is actually something that can work. Because this is something that has never been done before. This will be the first product ever made from plastic from the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. So success is not guaranteed. With the quality of this material, it's surely going to be a challenge. Yet, because of the research that we've been doing over the past few years, we believe that this should actually be possible. Now, you might say, well, wait a minute, aren't there already a lot of products made from ocean plastic? Well, for that, it's important to realize that right now there's no real standard, no hard definition of what ocean plastic means. So it's really kind of this murky definition, which could mean 100% plastic from the ocean or 1% plastic from the ocean. And it's even possible that none of the plastic at all came out of the ocean. It's quite crazy. And what we believe is that it's important to bring transparency to the market. So we've been collaborating with the world's leading certification body, DNVGL, to set up a public standard which would be able to certify plastic that is actually coming out of the ocean. And they'll be sharing a bit more information on that in a bit. So what they've done, they've been following every step of this plastic from the moment it was collected from the ocean, and will continue to do so when the plastic is being sorted, when it's being recycled, all the way to the plastic being this beautiful, sustainable product. Which brings us to the second most frequently asked question that we received. Well, how can I help? How can I be part of this cleanup? Now, the fact, of course, is that the Great Pacific Garbage Patch is really far away. So you can't just go out there and collect some plastic yourself. So through this plastic, through these products, we hope to give everyone the opportunity to be part of the cleanup. Now, the aim is to launch the first product in September of next year. But we already want to give our supporters the opportunity to join the journey of this plastic today. So if you go to our website, theoceancleanup.com, you can actually sign up for $50. And what you'll be able to do is you can follow the journey of the plastic, as well as be the first in line for when that product is actually being launched. So, and of course, because we're a nonprofit, 100% of the proceeds would already go to the mission. And with this, we hope to give everyone the opportunity to join us in turning this problem into a solution. Now, so once again, thanks for everyone who has been part of the journey so far. It's been a crazy 6 years, and I'm so happy that we finally have this first plastic back on shore. So thanks everyone who got us to this point, and I hope you'll be joining us in being part of the next chapter of the ocean cleanup as well. So, thank you. Right.
Next one.
Yeah, this is there's a light.
We're going to do a couple more things. In just a second, we're going to hear from DNVGL. Luca Cresciotti is here to explain a little bit more about how the new standard will work. Once his remarks are concluded, we can do a Q&A. We can use the microphone. I will help folks ask questions and make sure they're answered. And then following that, if necessary... Okay. Sorry about that. Hey, that's better. So we're going to do a couple more things. I'm going to introduce Luca Cresciotti from DNVGL, who's going to explain a little bit more about the new ocean plastic standard. Once he is finished, we will do a Q&A, and I'll help you use the microphone to ask questions of Boyan or Luca, and then we'll make sure you get what you need. Thank you very much. With that, I'd like to introduce Luca.
Thank you very much. I'm Luca Cresciotti. I'm the DNVGL Business Assurance CEO. DNVGL is a quality assurance and risk management company. Since we have been established in 1864 in Norway as an independent foundation, our purpose has been to safeguard life, property, and the environment. And in the last 155 years, we have been working with organizations and companies worldwide to advance safety, sustainability, and to build trust. We share with the Ocean Cleanup the mission to address major environmental challenges thanks and using data-driven technology. I'm the lucky one with the helicopter now landing. Bojan has just showed you the big bags full of plastic here. There's one fundamental question that, as a consumer, all of us, ask to ourselves when we buy a product: can we trust the information when we buy a product? We would love really sometimes to understand from which part of the world raw materials or ingredients are coming from. And as you have heard, the Ocean Cleanup would like to have all the plastic, 100% of the plastic that they are harvesting on a daily basis, verified by DNVGL. What does it mean, verified by DNVGL? So for 1.5 years, we have been studying international best practices on environmental and plastic recycling. And we have designed a very robust and solid verification process. What we are going to do is to inspect, to assess with our own people all the different stages of this process, and we will combine this with data analysis. The 5 stages that we're going to cover are the extraction, the transportation, the recycling and the disposal, then the manufacturing and the sales. And for consumer, anytime it will be possible to check the origin of the product. And that's extremely important. As the extraction scale, we are also planning to introduce and take advantage of digital technologies. So we are going to use cameras, we are going to use GPS technology, we are going to use remote auditing technique. And once we have verified all the data that we are going to collect from sensors, IoT, for example, we are going to place this into a blockchain with 2 benefits for the consumers. The first one is that the data cannot be falsified. The second one is that, again, the data will be instantly available to everyone. So this is basically an end-to-end process, and we are going to build trust around that. All these requirements, and we have defined more than 50 different checkpoints to make sure that the Ocean Cleanup is following the requirements. All these requirements will become a standard, and the standard will be published within March next year. And we really hope that other companies will be joining our effort to cleaning up the ocean, adopting the standard. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so we have some time to take a Q&A from folks. I'm going to walk around with the microphone, and if you have questions for Boyan or for Luca, raise your hand and let's fire away. After that, we'll invite, as I said at the beginning, to come up closer and take some shots of the plastic if you're interested in that. So with that, are there any questions? So questions?